Some villages die once. This one dies again and again. Eyam, nestled in the quiet hills of Derbyshire, is known as the Plague Village, a place where its people sealed their fate in 1665, willingly sacrificing themselves to stop the spread of the Black Death. But something didn't die with them. Something stayed behind, and it's still very much alive. Over the past 2 decades, visitors have vanished, investigators have lost their minds, and recordings have surfaced showing events that defy all explanation. This is not legend. It's documented. Welcome to Fear Diaries. Case number 49, The Plague Village That Never Died. Deep in the English countryside, surrounded by green rolling hills and ancient forests, lies the village of Eyam. Most people pass through without knowing what happened here. But those who stop, those who stay, they never forget. Because this village doesn't just have a history, it has a memory. In 1665, the people of Eyam made a choice, one that would turn their home into a mass grave and leave behind something unholy. This is the story of a village that chose death and the horrors that never left it. The plague reached Eyam in August 1665. It came in a bolt of cloth sent from London, infected with the Black Death. Within days, villagers were dying in agony. The rector, William Mompesson, and his predecessor, Thomas Stanley, convinced the village to seal itself off from the rest of the world. To prevent the spread, what followed was a slow-motion tragedy. Over 260 villagers died in just over a year. But the real horror wasn't the disease, it was what came after. Excerpt, Diary of Elizabeth Hancock, 1666. I buried my husband and 6 children with my own hands. God was not here. Something else walked among us. Even today, the Hancock family graves are visible, isolated in a nearby field. Locals say no grass grows properly there, and some nights they hear weeping from beneath the soil. Fast forward to 2001, a local film student, Amy Ridley, decides to do a university project on Eyam's past. She interviews residents, walks the village paths alone. But something changes in her. Her friends say she became obsessed. Her final footage was found inside St. Lawrence's Church, playing on a loop, with no tape inside the camera. She said they were whispering to her, the plague dead. She kept saying, they remember. They know who lived and who didn't. Amy was never found, no trace of her, and her footage, it shows something impossible. Nearly 4 centuries after the plague, something awoke in Eyam again. In the autumn of 2011, a family moved into a converted cottage near Cucklet Church, just above where many plague victims had been buried. Within 3 weeks, their 10-year-old daughter, Lily Carter, began showing signs of violent nightmares, sleepwalking, and unexplained wounds. By week 5, she stopped speaking altogether, except in Latin. Her parents believed their child had been possessed, and she wasn't alone. I'd wake up and she'd be standing in the hallway, scratching at the walls, whispering something over and over. Then the lights would flicker, and we'd find more marks on her arms the next morning. The Carters brought in local clergy. One priest, Father Hugh Donnelly, agreed to record his sessions with Lily. The recordings have never been released publicly until now. Sound, shaky cassette-style tape hiss, a deep growling voice layered over a child's voice. Father Hugh, who are you? Lily, they were left to rot. I walk where they suffered. Father Hugh, you are not Lily. Who are you? Elizabeth, I buried my blood. The bones are open. Investigators discovered Lily's voice had quoted from the 1666 Plague Diary, a diary not digitized and kept sealed in the village archives, which the family had never visited. The exact phrase matched Elizabeth Hancock's entry, written the day she buried her final child. How did Lily know it? There are accounts that some spirits here don't rest. They're angry. They didn't just die of disease. Some believe they were offered, sacrificed by the rector for a greater good. By December 2011, the Carters left Eyam. Their house remains empty. Locals say you can still hear scratching from the cellar at night. In 2023, during planned renovations beneath St. Lawrence's Church in Eyam, workers uncovered a sealed stone vault. Hidden behind layers of rock and centuries of silence, it had no record in any map or archive. What they found inside would raise more questions than answers. At first, we thought it was a forgotten family tomb, but there were no names, no markers, just a large stone slab, and beneath it, bones. Too many for a single grave. Claire's team counted at least 24 skeletons, not buried but piled, as if dumped, limbs contorted unnaturally. On the wall above them, a Latin phrase scrawled in blood-colored pigment. Vita pro vita, sanguis pro vita. A life for a life, blood for life. To hold the evil in place, we gave them the diseased. To cleanse the righteous, we bled the sinners first. May Eyam live through plague and purge. Was the village's self-quarantine more than just a noble act? Some now believe it may have been part of a ritualistic offering, sacrificing infected souls to protect the untainted. Dark folklore passed through the centuries, but now, with physical evidence found, the question must be asked. Did the rector of Eyam knowingly trap the plague and something else beneath the church? We brought the bones up for cataloging. That night, 3 of our team got violently ill. Fevers, hallucinations. One had seizures. Said she saw children climbing out of the earth. Soon after the vault was opened, locals began reporting sightings. Figures in the fog, children's voices in the graveyard, animals going missing. For many, it felt as if something ancient had been unsealed. The dogs won't go near the church anymore, and 2 guests left in the middle of the night, said their rooms smelled of rot and someone whispered Latin through the floorboards. In early 2024, a 3-person documentary crew arrived in Eyam to produce a short film on the curse of the plague village. They never finished it, and what was recovered from their abandoned gear tells a story darker than anyone expected. Day 3. The locals are avoiding us. The pub won't serve us anymore, and I keep hearing scratching behind the walls of the rectory where we're staying. Something's wrong here. It's like the place is watching us. Lauren, her cameraman David, and sound engineer Mitch had all signed waivers stating they would spend one night inside the sealed vault beneath the church for authenticity. The night of March 6th, 2024, they entered. They did not return. No signs of forced entry or exit. Their equipment was found 36 hours later by a maintenance crew. Cameras running, batteries dead, but no trace of the filmmakers. One of the SD cards, damaged by moisture, was partially recovered by digital forensic experts. What it captured has been debated ever since. There was a 6-second frame where the footage went black. And yet, on the waveform, we recorded 2 additional voices, whispering in what we now believe was 17th century English. To this day, the crew's fate remains unknown. No bodies were recovered. But just 1 week after the incident, the church was permanently closed to the public, and the crypt resealed under a private restoration clause. Officials gave no explanation. We always said some things in Eyam were better left buried. Now someone's disturbed it, and it's not done with us yet. We always said some things in Eyam were better left buried. Now someone's disturbed it, and it's not done with us yet. Across the village, new reports of illness, apparitions, and missing pets have begun surfacing. Some believe the sacrificial contract of 1665, the one that sealed evil beneath the village, has been broken, if that's true. The question now is, who or what is Eyam feeding next? After the 2023 excavation and the disappearance of a documentary team, the village of Eyam was closed to the public for investigation. But something had already escaped. It wasn't just the bones or the shadows, it was the bloodline. A survivor from the documentary team, Thomas Renner, was found weeks later in a Sheffield hospital. Blood loss, memory loss. But what caught our attention was his DNA. It matched a strain only seen in remains from the 1666 Eyam burials. How could someone alive in 2023 carry a mutation known only to plague-era corpses buried beneath a sealed crypt? We found markers, genetic imprints, that are typically wiped out through generations. But in Renner, they were fresh. The theory emerged. The village rector in 1666 didn't just sacrifice the sick. He bred something, a lineage of immunity. Children born in the shadow of plague, raised with rituals. Their descendants hidden among Eyam's families for generations. They told me I was born here, but I wasn't. I dream of tunnels. I dream of children that never die. There's something inside me. It remembers the stone. What if Eyam's quarantine wasn't meant to stop the plague, but contain it? A sacred bloodline passed down in secret, fed through generations to sustain a pact forged in 1666. The child bore the mark, just as the rector said they would. We gave it the ash and the blood. The stone still sleeps. Who are these children? And if Thomas Renner wasn't the first, how many more walk among us today with memories not their own and a disease not yet dead? Some rituals die with the people who create them. Others evolve. Eyam's secret wasn't just a hidden bloodline. It was a practice, a ritual, one whispered from generation to generation, never written, only spoken beneath stone and ash. By fire we cleanse, by ash we bind. Blood must mix with the dust of the cursed before the stone awakens. This wasn't metaphor. A pit was discovered beneath the rector's house, a sealed chamber containing jars of human ash, old knives, and cloth stained with darkened blood. This wasn't some burial chamber. It was a chamber used again and again. Dried wax, fingerprints in soot, fresh scratches on the stone floor, as if something inside was still moving. Renner's return, bloodied and barely alive, may not have been accidental. He may have performed something, or worse, interrupted it. She wore the plague mask, said I was the last one. I said the words. I bled. But the walls opened, and they weren't walls anymore. They breathed. There's one more layer to this story, a voice recovered from beneath the church floor during sonar testing. It's not in English, not in Latin, it's older. The words are part of a dead language, pre-Christian, but it translates loosely to, stone remembers the blood, stone calls it back. In 1666, the villagers thought they were sealing death away. But the ritual didn't destroy it. It gave it form. And now, it wants to be fed again. Eyam was never just haunted by the memory of its people. It was governed by something much deeper. The villagers didn't just seal themselves inside to stop the plague. They sealed something in, something ancient. And the one man who knew it all, who orchestrated it in silence, was their spiritual leader, the rector. In 2022, a local historian named Abigail Pierce stumbled upon a forgotten lockbox buried in the rectory cellar during restoration. Inside was the original journal of Reverend William Mompesson, Eyam's famed rector, long assumed lost. The journal wasn't what people expected. Instead of a faith-based record of the plague, it was filled with symbols, incantations, and detailed accounts of nightly rituals conducted in the church crypt. I made the offering again tonight. Blood of 3, ash of bone. The well has stirred. The sickness returned in the girl from Bakewell, but the markings protect me. God is no longer here. Paranormal investigators returned to the Eyam church crypt, the very space beneath where Mompesson conducted services. In the stillness of that cold stone chamber, they uncovered symbols carved in a perfect circle around the crypt center, each identical to those drawn in the journal. Cameras picked up. Sudden temperature drops to 7 degrees Celsius. Audio recordings of whispering in Old English. A black mass moving through the space, though no team member saw it live. The ash circle, it was for containment. Dr. Mary Lennox, occult historian. A masked woman, same cloak, same porcelain face, appeared again, this time outside the Peak District Council building in Bakewell. Surveillance shows her holding an object wrapped in cloth, a wooden crucifix carved with runes. She leaves it on the steps and vanishes. DNA on the mask matches no one in national databases. But here's the kicker. The wood dated back to the 17th century. Forensics report, Derbyshire Constabulary. A hidden truth emerged. William Mompesson had a child with a servant girl, a lineage he documented in a cipher within his journal. That bloodline didn't die. According to genetic analysis of descendants in nearby villages, several missing persons shared trace genetic markers leading back to the rector himself. They weren't random disappearances. They were descendants, offerings, just like before. Dr. Lennox. The ritual wasn't just a reaction to the plague. It was a contract, and the rector was its guardian, a role passed down in secret. Before Riley disappeared, she visited the Eyam boundary stone, near the old well where offerings were once left. She lowered a voice recorder into the shaft, leaving it overnight. The recovered audio played, deep breath, then a voice, slow, gravelly. You were warned. The blood remembers. You must take the robe. Then screams. Then screams. Metallic scraping and silence. The next morning, Riley was gone. Only her phone remained, screen cracked, still recording. Abigail, the historian, knew her time was ending. The deeper she got into the rector's lineage, the more she felt it following her. I've traced the names. I know now. I carry it too. The rector's blood. It's why I see them in mirrors. Why the ash clings to my skin. I'm not hiding anymore. I'm going to the crypt tonight. If I don't return, burn the journal. She never returned. Her flat was found empty, one candle still burning. The camera footage ends with her staring directly into it and whispering, "The rector has returned." The mask, the ash, the symbols. They weren't warnings. They were signs of succession. The position of spiritual guardian didn't die with Mompesson. It transferred. The village never wanted to stop the plague. It wanted to contain the darkness and feed it. And now, it's starving again. Fear Diaries is not just horror. It's investigation, storytelling, and cinematic mystery wrapped in one. Every story is rooted in reality, backed by history, and presented with immersive visuals and found document authenticity. If you crave stories that stay with you, ones that may just be true, subscribe now, because the next case could be closer than you think. By now, the veil between past and present had all but rotted away. What remained in Eyam was no longer haunted history. It was something alive, buried in the earth, breathing through bloodlines, waiting for the right name to call it back. When Amelia Cross arrived back in London with Julian's camcorder, she thought it would be over, that whatever she had awakened in Eyam would stay buried behind those ancient stone walls. But strange things began happening. The raw footage Julian had taken, audio anomalies, whispered Latin phrases, shadowy figures in frames he hadn't filmed, began corrupting every hard drive she used. Every attempt to upload or even playback triggered power failures or dead pixels spiraling across the screen. The worst part? The date stamps on the footage kept changing, not just shifting timestamps, actual dates from the 1600s appearing in digital metadata. And then she received the email. Subject, you brought it back. Body, there are names you do not say. There are houses you do not enter. You crossed both. She didn't recognize the sender. The domain didn't even exist. 2 nights later, Amelia woke up with a nosebleed and an intense stinging in her right palm. When she turned on the light, she saw a mark seared into her skin. A plague cross, deep red, still warm. She rushed to her bathroom mirror and found something written on the steamed glass. The blood of the rector flows. She screamed. Her security camera app pinged. Movement detected in her hallway. She opened the feed and saw the masked woman in black, standing inside her apartment, staring directly into the camera. But when she ran outside, nothing. No trace. No open doors. Amelia dug into the archived registers of Eyam, now obsessed. She discovered something that hadn't appeared in Julian's research, a sealed side ledger tucked into the 1665 rector's personal notebook. Digital scans showed hand-drawn maps, but one page stood out. At the site where ash meets bone, the eternal slumber is broken. The one buried in the cross of soil shall awaken. The passage was signed by Thomas Maupassant, the same rector who led Eyam's self-quarantine during the plague. But the signature was overwritten, scratched into a different hand, with red ink. The child returned. He walks again. Amelia returned to Eyam, this time alone. Guided by the handwritten maps, she found a hill south of the village, hidden behind blackthorn hedges, a forgotten field of unmarked graves. She felt a sudden compulsion to dig. Using only her hands, she clawed through the soil until her fingers hit something hard. Wood. Inside the rotting box, no human remains, just a plague mask and a modern cassette tape wrapped in waxed linen. Back in her car, she played the tape. It was Julian's voice, terrified, rambling. Julian, on tape. I think she's inside me. I keep hearing her speak through my mouth in the dark. I'm not alone. If you find this, Amelia, burn everything. Then the tape ended with one more voice, not Julian's, a woman, whispering, "She has returned through the bloodline. You brought her across the threshold." Back in Eyam, villagers noticed something strange. The ancient black door on the side of the old rectory, bricked up for centuries, was now ajar. Locals swore no one touched it. At night, hooded figures were seen entering the ruins, carrying burning herbs and chanting in Old English. A retired local vicar anonymously told Amelia, That door hasn't opened since the plague. It was sealed by blood oath. If it's open, someone let her out. The rectory burned to the ground 3 days later. Firefighters said no natural cause could be found. The soil underneath, sterilized, charred black. Amelia vanished the day after uploading her final findings to a hidden drive titled Eyam Record 6. The only thing she left behind was a single sentence typed on her whiteboard. You don't have to live in Eyam. For Eyam to live in you. Julian's body was never found. The footage she uploaded included one last visual, a hand-drawn circle, scrawled in what looked like dried blood. Inside the circle, names, dates, symbols, and a message. The plague never ended. It just changed hosts. In Eyam, the dead speak in silence, and what's buried beneath the plague stones still waits. The final chapter hasn't been written. Not yet. Fear Diaries will return.